My name's Brittany. Welcome to my channel. I'm here to give you an inside look at different tools and modalities to help you with your mental health, wellness, and beauty while igniting your sunshine and living a beautiful life. Hello, Sunnies. I have not posted anything in probably like 3 weeks, which I was starting to be like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? I made this commitment to myself of sharing tools and wellness for mental health, and then I've taken this giant break. Well, it was for my mental health. If you haven't heard or seen the videos, we just got keys to our new 20,000 square foot building about 3 weeks ago, which is so amazingly exciting, but a lot has had to take place. So I've given myself the time to focus on that and not stress about making sure everything is perfectly done, so that I have time in my day to reflect and to relax and not just work until all hours of the night or get up super early, but to really just focus on what I needed to focus at hand. But I'm back, also with Suki, because she definitely wants to be in the video. And I wanted to jump on here and talk about gratitude and extreme gratitude. So Thanksgiving is next week, and I might have a ton of other videos already filmed, but my marketing brain and the way I think and the way that a lot of people think about Thanksgiving is gratitude and to remind ourselves what we are grateful for. And usually on social media, starting in November, I see everyone do like 30 days of gratitude and different things like that. And it's crazy because this year I have not seen anyone start that trend or do that, which I always have enjoyed that trend of people doing the 30 days of gratitude. But it should be more than just 30 days. This should be a lifestyle that we incorporate. And not just for people that have anxiety or depression, but overall, because it overall gives us such a greater happiness of life when we are more grateful, and you can start at any time. For me, I used to feel so guilty when I had depression and anxiety because I would be like, why am I feeling this way when I have all of this in my life? And people would be like, well, your life's not that bad. Well, no, it wasn't, but my brain was not functioning in a way that would allow me to see it. And then I would judge myself for feeling depressed and anxious. While I was very blessed. I have gone through some different traumas and that I guess I haven't really talked about or been super open about how depressed I was and how anxious that I have been in the past. And I've shared tools and stories about when I'm about to be on my cycle and PMS, what I'm experiencing, but I guess I haven't gone back and really talked about like where the depression, anxiety came from. So I want to touch on that before I go into my extreme gratitude. So in my early 20s, I was dating someone that was in the military. And if you're a military spouse, you know that a lot can come with this. For me, my two ex-boyfriends, long-term relationships, one for 5 years, one for 2 years, prior to my husband, who is also military, there was PTSD problems where they were struggling, but it then came on to me where I felt like I was the one that caused the problems, or I was the one that couldn't fix the problems. I'm extremely empathetic, so their feelings I would absorb and feel like this is my fault that they're like this. And this was in my about 21 through 26. This is kind of what I was experiencing, having to try to navigate someone with PTSD and how they were feeling and how to stay calm and connected for myself. And I just didn't do it. And I let my life crumble in so many ways. I lost, one of my first marketing jobs. I had no place to live, luckily. And I guess I don't share about it being extreme because I look at it and I was like, everything worked out. So I'm not one of those people that is dwelling on the fact that, oh my gosh, my early 20s and mid 20s were so hard.
No, because it's gotten me to where I am today. But I think the story is important so people understand that things can be really crappy, but you can get yourself out of it. So after my 5-year relationship with my ex, I had a lot of depression and anxiety. And I actually moved right into another relationship that had caused another set of problems because my self-worth was so low because I took on what they were feeling and made it about me, which none of it's about me. It was about what their experiencing was, and I needed to sit back and be like, what can I do to help myself first? And I wasn't doing that. So I had lost jobs. I had no place to live for a little bit. I was never sleeping in my car or anything like that, but I did stay at friend's house. After a couple weeks here and a couple weeks here, I was in school at the time, finishing up my undergrad and my master's. My mom got breast cancer. My ex's mom passed away. All of this was happening, and I just was complete meltdown of like, my life, poor me, my life is awful. Still, my life wasn't awful. Life happens and you experience things that kind of set you back or set you to a point where you're like, this is not what should be happening right now. And I didn't realize that this was going to be forever. Life literally will throw things at you one day at a time. That's something entrepreneurship has taught me as well, is that things break down, people quit, clients complain, all those kind of things, and you just have to learn to adapt. And so during my mid and early 20s, I didn't know how to adapt to life. I didn't understand how to navigate stressful situations. When my husband and I first started dating, he's like, what do you do for stress relief? And I was like, I don't know, cry. Because at my darkest, deepest times, and this is where it gets tricky for me to talk about, because I don't want people, my parents or my loved ones, be like, you were that bad and you didn't talk about it or you didn't know. I would sit in the shower crying with a bottle of wine, just being like, my life is terrible. My life is awful. Like, I am the worst person. I'm a horrible daughter because I couldn't be in Ohio for my mom's surgery. I'm a terrible girlfriend because, they're having such trouble. I can't make anything right. I can't make them happy. I can't make me happy. I am struggling at school of getting behind because I'm working 3 jobs and I'm trying to navigate these relationships. And so it was to the point where I was at times, and this is where it's funny because the universe listens to you. At times I'd be driving and I'd be like, it'd be just so nice if someone just hit me and put me out of my misery because I don't want to deal with life anymore. That's where my brain was 6, 7, 8 years ago. And look, now I've been in 3 car accidents, so it's kind of funny. Be careful what you say. Which I am grateful for because they have led me to be able to share more with everyone about tools to help. I would sit, in the shower and I would dig my hands. This is something I really don't talk about. Dig my hands into my arms because I was like, this physical pain is better than emotional pain that I was doing to myself. That negative self-talk was so intense and so strong that not being alive seemed to be easier. Did I ever think of committing suicide? Absolutely not. I probably would have never went down that road. I can't say probably not, but I don't think that I could have done that because of the loved ones in my life. However, I was never a cutter, but I could understand why people do it to relieve themselves for the emotional pain to a physical pain. And before my mid-20s, I was like, people are crazy. Why are they doing that? And then I got into these circumstances where I was just like, physical pain would be much better than the thoughts that are going through my mind, because they were just like, everything's my fault. How dare I think that I deserve anything? This relationship is terrible because of me. The way that they're ignoring me or treating me is because of something that I have done. So my self-worth was so low. And it's funny because as I was a kid and a teenager, I was a very confident person. I was very happy. I was very emotional and very sensitive because I've always been empathetic. But then it just got really deep and dark during my mid-20s. So several years ago, it was about 2016, ish that I started 2016, 17, started practicing this extreme gratitude. Everyone talks about a gratitude journal. Why do a gratitude journal? This woo-woo stuff, there's no point to it. It doesn't actually work. Well, actually, lots of psychologists and neuroscientists have done brain scans on our brains of what happens when we practice gratitude, especially being an anxious or depressed person. And then what our brains do different, and how the neuro pathways in our brains can actually start to reconnect the way that they're supposed to when we practice that gratitude. So when we practice gratitude, serotonin and dopamine are released. Those are the happy feelings. Those are the ones that your medications like Zoloft and different things are supposed to stimulate. For me, I was on medication for about 5 years. It was absolutely necessary at the time because I didn't have these other methods to use to help me. I'm very, very beyond grateful for Ashley Such. For that moment that I was outside, we were all together, and I had a panic attack in the bar when I was 25 years old. Meltdown, no reason. It was just, I was overstimulated. My self-talk was horrible, and I just had a meltdown in a bar, and I had to Uber home and leave. The next morning, my friend Ashley says, I think it's time for you to go talk to someone. So I went and talked to someone, and I got on some medications. I did not pair it with therapy until I was married 4 years later and realized that this medication isn't doing as much for me as what I needed it to. And then meeting my dear friend Casey, who opened me up to a world of mental health and wellness and ways to change your brain. So in 2018, I started practicing extreme gratitude. And I would rewrite everything in the day about what I was grateful for, no matter what happened, no matter what was taking place. I knew that there was things that I were positive in my life and grateful. And for a depressed person or an anxious person, when you start doing this, it does not feel natural or normal, and you feel like a fraud and a fake. And you're writing this down, and you're like, how is this gonna work? Well, it does take time. It's not something that you can do for 2 days and be like, I'm healed, this is great. No. Practicing gratitude is like strengthening a muscle in your brain. You are literally strengthening your muscle and reconnecting neural pathways to be able to start to think differently. Things can happen like trauma and stress and bad diet habits, and all these things can take place where we no longer are letting our brain function to the best of their ability. And I was just researching, and I was watching a podcast on a psychologist, and he said 2/3 of your thoughts in the day are generally negative. According to the Anxiety and Depression Association of America, approximately 40 million adults over the age of 18 experience anxiety disorder in the United States. It's a lot of people. And then take what has happened in 2020 and 2021, and that has probably been amplified so much with what's going on. And so, and that is something, so in 2017, 18, I really started practicing gratitude. I really started to look at how my thoughts were affecting my behavior. And I began to be like, okay, I do have a lot to be thankful for. And I am proud of what I have accomplished, and I'm proud of what I had. Sometimes I would be feel guilty about the fact of, like I said earlier, feel guilty about, well, why am I depressed if I have a running car, if I have a roof, I was judging myself. So instead of taking that judgment and getting mad at myself about, I'm depressed and I have all this stuff, I started getting excited about all that I have. And so I'd be like, I'm super excited I live in this house, even when it wasn't decorated the way that I wanted to. But I was like, it's really cool that I have a house that I can stay in. It's really cool that I have a car that I can drive to and from work. Is it the car that I want to be driving right now? No. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm driving my parents' car. I have been for 2 years now. And I was going to get a new car in January 2020 or in spring of 2020, but then the pandemic happened. So I just kept driving it. And I have been like, I'm dumb for keeping doing this. Why am I not? No, I just should be grateful that I have parents that have given me this car to drive until I'm ready to buy a new one. Like, don't get mad at myself about this, but be grateful for this. And I think as kids, we can start developing that negativity about why what we have we should be judging ourselves for if we aren't doing something right. So now my parents never did this, but a prime example of this is, well, you should eat all the food on your plate because there's starving children in Africa. One, that's teaching you several different things. That's teaching you that one, you should consume food after you are done being hungry, which I have always thought that is a terrible idea. Two, it's putting judgment on you for not appreciating what you have, where instead of, and in my mind it went negative when I think those things of like, how dare I not like eat all of this because there's other people that have it worse off. Well, no, I should just look at my food and be like, I'm so grateful that I have all this and not judge myself for it. So that's one of those things that really I see when parents do that. I'm like, oh, don't do that for multiple different reasons. Like, just let's get excited about what we have and not get upset about that you have more than someone else. So I always try to make sure that people understand, like, don't give yourself crap for what you have because someone has less than you and you're feeling still depressed. You can be depressed and still have amazing things. A lot of people that are millionaires, they're still struggling with self-worth. They're still struggling with gratitude and anxiety and depression and all those things because they haven't sat back and been like, okay, how do I change my brain actually? So this is about changing your brain. And anxiety and depressive thoughts really hijack your brain. They are making it difficult for it to really function properly because you're just feeding it negativity. And so I've become very grounded in the fact that I'm not going to complain about my situation. Yeah, sometimes it sucks. Sometimes I walk into the studio and a pipe bursts and I got to take care of it anyway. So why get mad out of it? I just have to know that life is going to continuously throw things at me. But to find peace is to find it where that no matter what's going on, I'm going to be okay. And I'm going to believe that everything really is okay. And so in those moments, I'm like, okay, this is happening, but what else can I see around me that's working out for me? So example of when the pipe burst. I got in there after the girls had called me and they had already cleaned everything up. They were mopping and all those things. I had gotten on the phone, a plumber could come right away. And so I sat back instead of being like, oh, woe is me. The plumbing, this is gonna cost me so much money. That did jump into my head. However, I sat back still and refocused my thoughts on the fact that, oh my gosh, I have amazing people in my life that have cleaned up everything, made sure that I knew what I was calling about for the plumbers. Like, it was just such a way of me sitting back and being like, everything is still okay because I have such a support system right now. I have money in the bank that I can take care of this. Do I want to spend this money on plumbing? No, but here we are. So I'm just grateful that I have it at the time. So that was an example of like practicing that gratitude in the midst of having an experience that would be generally stressful for me in the past. In 2020, when we got shut down, it was really hard being a business owner and not knowing what was going on. And so I went back to practice heavily within the last year and a half when things are happening of gratitude about silly things. So especially I think of toilet paper and how almost, we had a toilet paper shortage in 2020, which is still baffling to me. But, you know, sometimes when I'm starting to feel depressed, I can be like, I have toilet paper. Like, I'm so grateful that I have toilet paper. And it's funny, like I go throughout my day and as when I'm drinking my coffee and I'm like, I'm so grateful that I have coffee that I can consume and bring enjoyment into my life. As I'm brushing my teeth, I think, oh goodness, it's amazing because, you know, back in the day, they didn't have toothbrush and, you know, things that we can easily go out and get to keep our hygiene good. So I take these moments throughout my day to be like, I'm so grateful. Like even our drinking water, like we're in America and we don't have a problem, most of us don't have a problem with accessing drinking water. So as I'm drinking my water, I'm like, I feel so good about this water because I get to enjoy this daily. And I know that there are people are out there that don't have that ability, that they're still having to travel to go get their water. And instead of me being like feeling empathetic to their situation where I feel guilt or shame for what I have, I just go back to that gratitude, because if they had this right now, they would be so grateful for in this moment. So I should be grateful that I have this in this moment. So yeah, there's just little things that you can do. Everyone talks about having a gratitude journal. I definitely suggest this. There are actually, neuroscience have done scans on your brain that they have given a group of people to go and do a gratitude journal or gratitude letters daily, and their brain actually changes. It literally changes how it's functioning by the gratitude that we are putting out into the world, because it's hard to be grateful and have a panic attack. So when I start to have these panic attacks, I know that, and I mean, I still to this day go through moments where this happened. It's generally now only around my cycle. So more hormonal, which I, you know, just keep journeying on this process of finding things that truly help me. And it's gotten a lot less severe. I mean, leading up to my cycle, there would be days where I would just be on my bathroom floor crying. And this is all the way up until last year, where I felt like I could not function because I was just having this mental breakdown. And every month would just be such a challenge. But practicing gratitude over time, because like I said, it's a muscle. You're strengthening it and you're strengthening it. And so now there's been so much more relief leading up to those moments than there has been prior. But yeah, practicing that gratitude can truly change lives. And it's hard to get there. I shouldn't say it's hard, because it's not hard. It actually is fairly simple process once you get into it. It's just taking the step forward to wanting to feel better. That's the thing. You have to have the desire to want to feel better, no matter in any situation. So I look back at myself that was jumping from friend to friend's house, and I think at the time I was freaking out a little bit, but I also was like, had these relationships where people would have me stay with them. And I'm like, gosh, those were amazing friends. I don't look back at those times and think like, that was a terrible time in my life. I think back at those times and I think, gosh, I got through this and it's beautiful and it's lovely. And I had people in my life that I am beyond thankful for. And now that I look back at that in the future, I can consistently be like, gosh, look around me. What have I created? What has my mind had the ability to project and build because I took this step to want to feel better? And I, like I said, I still practice this. I just did a walk this morning. And on my way there, I was just looking around and being like, gosh, I'm glad that I live where I do so I can view all these beautiful trees. I have my coffee in my hand, and there's just something to always sit back and be at peace with. And I'm here to help share this. I'm here to help inspire others to take that stand. And you don't even have to be an anxious person or a depressed person to start this, because if you start this and you're ahead of the game and you don't even feel those negative thoughts that are coming in, your life is just going to blossom even more. So it's something that everyone can do to bring happiness and wellness. And it doesn't just help our mental health and our brain function, it helps our physical health. It'll help alleviate pain because you're looking at pain a little bit differently. I've struggled with fibromyalgia in the past. I've been in 3 car accidents where my hips and back are not up to, they're exactly actually where they're supposed to be right now. But I face some pain, and I go back to, even when I'm in pain, I love my body. I'm grateful for this body because I can walk. I can be alive today. I can go to a chiropractor and have alleviate pain. I can go and get massages to alleviate the pain. So I'm still grateful for my body and not judging it for being in pain when I have these episodes where my hip's not working or my shoulder freezes and things like that. So it helps with the pain that you're experiencing too, that physical pain, because you start to look at it a little different. It's just an unbelievable process. And a lot of people will say, you know, toxic positivity is a bad thing. You're being toxic positive right now when you are talking about, well, I have this to be grateful for, even though this crapola is happening over here. No, I still acknowledge the fact that some things just suck. They suck. But at the same time, I'm like, but do they suck that bad? Like, do they? Or am I just hyper focused on the problem at hand in the moment? But there's always a solution. I used to go, when stress happened, even not stressful situations, just situations in general, my brain would be like, worst case possible scenario, right? Always would go to that. So this is in 2020, and my friend Ashley, who was just on the last video, and I were talking about this about the middle of shutdown. We know the worst case scenario of you could lose your business, you could lose it all. What's the best case scenario? If you lose your business, what is the best case scenario? So then I started to look at my entire life and think, okay, so this happened, but what's the best outcome that could come of this? And that was a function of using gratitude, but also projecting not fear into the world, but hope. And so depression is not having hope. You have lost hope in yourself. You've lost hope in the world, which the last year I've sort of had bouts of like, humanity, oh, where are we going? But that's not going to help me. The only thing that can help me is to stay having hope and gratitude and peace that I can create anything that I desire. So if I lost sunshine, which I didn't, we're doing great, and I'm so grateful for all of the amazing support that we have had, not just for the last 2 years, but the last 7 that we've been open. And it's just a beautiful thing to be able to be like, okay, I really could go, even if the worst case possible scenario happens, what's the best case? And one of the best case scenarios for me was that I wanted to share more about mental health. This was back in 2020 when we were wondering what was happening and if business would last. I was like, I would be doing what I'm doing right now is sharing, because sharing is caring, guys. So for me, it was one of those things that I was like, okay, I would do this instead if we lost the business. Well, but the best case scenario was the fact that, even better than losing business, I was like, what if I was able to spread this joy and love and wellness and tools while having a functioning, successful business? And here we are. That I've been doing this now for a couple months, where I'm sharing these tools, and then we're moving into a brand new location that's 20,000 square feet, which I'm not gonna lie, you guys, the first 2 weeks that I had the space, it was unreal. And I was like, am I able to do this? Am I adult enough to do this? Am I crazy for doing this? So all these thoughts just don't go away. We just learn how to adapt and steer them. So for me, it was like when all those things were coming in, like, is this crazy? I was like, okay, but I have this opportunity, so I'm gonna take it. So I'm gonna live it. So I'm gonna be grateful for it and not being afraid of failure, because I'm grateful for this journey regardless of where it goes. Because so much amazing stuff has happened over the last 7 years with Sunshine that, you know, opening up this new space, I just am so excited and so grateful to have this opportunity to survive the pandemic, to be a hub of collaboration and give other women entrepreneurs a place and a space to truly give their gifts. So anytime I get stressed out about this new space, which you guys is a lot, 20,000 square feet is a lot to do, but every time I get stressed out, I go back to being grateful for all that is around me. So because I know Thanksgiving is a time that we kind of drop into this space, I wanted to really talk about it and share about my journey and where gratitude has led me. And I'm so excited for where it's about to, you know, every day is a day of possibilities, and standing true and in believing in that is a beautiful, beautiful thing. And you'll feel it. You start practicing for a week, start writing. I practice it in the morning and when I go to sleep heavily, but also throughout the day. I have a gratitude journal. Sometimes this is for my manifestation people out there, I even write down what I'm grateful for before I even have it. So it's kind of just putting that little edge on things, to be grateful for things before you even have them. And then they just start to develop and appear. And it's just a beautiful thing. I know that manifestation word is out there strong right now, but it's true. I believe it. And once you start kind of working with your brain and working with your thoughts, you can start to see it too. So, and right now with holidays, everything's usually a little bit more stressful for people in the holidays. So it's a great time to start. It's a great time to just wake up in the morning and write down what you're grateful for. Before you go to bed, write down what you're grateful for. If you're lazy and don't feel like having a piece of paper and a pen by you, just sit back and you can start to think of 3 things you're grateful for. Then 10 things you're grateful for, and then 20 things you're grateful for. And then throughout the day, you're like, oh, there's so much out here. Even the food that you're eating, like, oh, it tastes so good. I'm so grateful to have this right now. So yeah, try it out. I'm super excited. Thanksgiving's next week. We have my family coming down, and we used to do this every year where on a scrapbook page, we would put all of our things that we're grateful for all together in a little scrapbook page. And so my cousin's bringing that down, and I'm super excited to see what I said probably 10, 15 years ago, maybe even longer than that. Haley was a toddler while we were doing that. It's her mom that started it. So I'm excited because I want to see what it said then, and I'll be sharing it. And then we decided that we're going to start this again. And every year we'll have that same page of doing that. And it's a beautiful thing once you start. So I encourage it. You can think this is woo-woo and crazy, but why not try things even if you're skeptical? Because then you can truly see if it works or not. I think that's a great thing to do, especially when it's so easy to do. So yeah, thanks everyone for watching along and for supporting this vlog and Sunshine. Little shout out, we are soon to be getting rid of these shirts starting in January. So if you haven't grabbed a Leading Lady shirt just yet, go ahead to our website, sunshinebeautybliss.com, and grab one of those. And yeah, I hope everyone has an amazing holiday, and thanks, grateful thoughts.